Hey everyone, today we are going to look at solving an equation with like terms and the distributive property. The goal of this problem is to isolate the variable. This means we want to get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign. The first step is to use the distributive property to eliminate the parentheses. I am going to distribute the -4 to -6x and the -4 to -2. It is a -2 because you want to make sure you keep the sign that is in front of the number. So -4 times -6x is positive 24x. Remember, I have to remember my rules of multiplying integers. A negative times a negative is a positive number. -4 times -2 is a positive 8. So I'm going to write that as plus 8. I'm also going to bring the rest of my problem down. Next, I'm going to combine like terms. Like terms are terms whose variables and exponents are the same. In the problem above, 24x and a positive 4x are like terms because they have the same variable, x, and an exponent of 1. Remember, when there is no exponent next to the variable, we assume that it is an exponent of 1. Therefore, I am going to combine these like terms. 24x plus 4x is equal to 28x. Now that I know my answer, I'm going to rewrite the problem with the combined like terms. So I have 28x plus 8 equals 64. There are no more sets of like terms on either side of the equal sign. Now I am going to move around my numbers so I can isolate the variable. In order to move numbers from one side of the equal sign to the other, I have to use the inverse or opposite operation. Let's see what this means. 28x plus 8 equals 64. I am always going to start with the number not attached to the variable. This would be positive 8. Since it is a plus 8 or a positive 8, the opposite operation would be minus 8. So I am going to subtract 8 from both sides, because whatever I do to one side of the equal sign, I must do to the other. Positive 8 minus 8 cancels out to give us 0. 64 minus 8 is equal to 56. So I'm going to bring down 28x equals 56. I still do not have the variable by itself. When a number is attached to a variable, the operation is multiplication. Therefore, the inverse operation would be division. I am going to divide both sides by 28. 28 divided by 28 is equal to 1, so these two numbers cancel out. I am left with x on the left side of the equal sign, and 56 divided by 28 is equal to 2. I now have the variable by itself, so therefore my answer is x equals 2. In order to make sure my answer is correct, I am going to complete a check. So I'm going to erase this work here. I can complete a check by substituting my answer in for the variable. So since my answer was x equals 2, everywhere that I see an x, I am going to substitute in a 2. So -4 times -6 times 2 minus 2 plus 4 times 2 equals 64. I took my answer and I substituted it into my problem everywhere I saw the variable x. Again, I have to remember my rules, PEMDAS, and my rules of integers. So I'm going to start with the parentheses. -4 times -6 times 2 is -12, and I bring everything else down. I still have numbers to work with inside of the parentheses. I remember the rule for subtraction is keep the first number, change. So -12 plus -2 is -14, plus 4 times 2 equals 64. -4 times -14 is equal to a positive 56. And I bring everything else down. 56 plus 8 equals 64. 64 equals 64. This means that my equation is balanced and my answer was correct. I also created a little checklist for solving multi-step equations with the distributive property. Please feel free to reference this video throughout the unit and use the checklist as a helpful resource.